Hi everyone, thanks for coming. I'm just going to have a quick intro. So today is your digital talk, and you'll be hearing from two companies, three speakers, all of whom work in a complete array of different jobs. So we've got Reese, who's going to start, who works for Sage, and then we've also got Cameron, who works for a company called Syntel Global, and then we've got Adam, who also works for Sage, but in a completely different role. So I'm going to pass over to Reese, who is going to kick off and tell us a little bit about his job and the company he works for. Reese, over to you.
Right, thank you. Bear with us, guys. I'm not very good on Zoom, so I'll try and share my screen and do this presentation. So let's try and do it without any spoilers. Oh, there we go. So, well, we've already had a spoiler. What do you think I do for a living? Do you guys want to pop in the chat what you think I do? Would people be able to read out the answers? Because obviously I can't see the chat. There's a clue.
Want me to read them out, Adam?
Yeah, read them out, please.
People are saying,
what's people guessing?
App developer, widgets, Twitch streaming, play games.
These are all good answers. So the person that said app developer is pretty much on the money. So I am a graduate software developer, but my special focus is app development. Well, web and mobile app development, to be precise. Obviously, I graduated from Sunderland University in 2019 with a degree in computer science. Shortly after that, got a graduate role at Sage. Obviously, one of the requirements to get the job that I got was you have to have a degree in a technical skill, such as IT, computer science, and web and mobile development. So who is Sage and what is my job? So Sage is a finance company that helps other businesses manage obviously their finance, but we also do payroll and other things. I'm sure Adam will tell you more about it because he specializes in that section of the company. So my job role, my job role is, like I said, I'm a graduate software developer. My day-to-day is building web and mobile applications that are used to help make long-winded tasks easier. So tasks that could take 2 to 3 hours in generic time, I can turn into a mobile app that can be done on the go in less than an hour. It just makes processes obviously easy, faster to do, and with the whole remote working thing that we're currently doing, it makes life a lot easier for the business. So yeah, I'll keep it short and snappy. Does anyone have any questions? Go back to Zoom. Feel free to give us questions about anything. I'm totally easy. Well, see, that depends on a lot of key factors. So it can be obviously it's different brackets depending on different levels. Me personally, as a grad, I earn in between 27 and 27 and 29, but that'll obviously go up in time. Do I enjoy my job? I absolutely love my job. It doesn't really feel like a job when you're doing something that you really enjoy. So my view to everybody would be do something that you really enjoy. Do I always work in an office? So as you can tell, I'm currently at home. We don't always work in the office. We only work in the office, obviously sometimes. It's all to do with remote working. So I'll work in the office, say maybe 2 days a week out of the 5 that I work. I'm interested in games such as Minecraft. So yeah, if you can see in the background right there, there's a poster somewhere. That's a Minecraft poster, funny enough. I like all kinds of games, generic. It's a good thing to do when you're like cooled off after a day's hard work. Any other questions? What part of your job is your favorite? So my favorite part of my job is the ability to be able to go out and learn new skills. So I can choose certain things that I want to learn, and I can just go out and do them. So if I want to learn how to do user experience design, make something look nice, I can go out and do that. Like, my job's very flexible in the fact that I can learn on the job, if that makes sense. Does your role involve lots of coding, and or are you using existing devices? So my job does involve quite a lot of coding, but I also do. I also use non-coding platforms for certain things for quickness. What made you choose to work in this sector? So I chose to work in the IT sector, obviously, because when I was young, well, going back years now, when I was young, I went to a summer school for IT, and I sort of found my passion at that summer school. And from then on, I always found that I enjoyed working with tech and code. I started working with Sage in 2019, shortly after graduating university. I'm a bit scared on time, so I'll pass over to somebody else. Thanks, guys. No, I was only young. I think I was about, oh yeah, was I 21? I don't know. No. I'll pass over to someone else who wants to talk now.
Hey, I think that's my cue. Can you all hear me? I'm hoping that's a yes. Well, thanks very much for that, Reese. That was really insightful. Yes, you can hear me. That's good. So give me 2 seconds. I will just share my screen. Just pull this out. Give me 2 seconds. There you go. Can you guys see this? I've just lost the chat log there. Hoping that's yes. So my name's Cameron Craggs. I work for, although it's a tech and digital company, we are quite different to Sage. Sage, as you quickly Googled, has 12,000 employees, serves over 20 million people. We are 2-man outfit at the moment, but we're currently taking on some extra staff. So what do you think I do for a living? And I'll give you guys a little bit of an extra hint. Still vague. No idea how I'm going to chat my log over here. This is a really bad photo I took last night on the way home. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, there's the chat. There we go. Any guesses? Nice. No, we're actually assassins, not spies. Okay, I'll keep going. So my name's Cameron. My co-founder is Tom, who's unfortunately not able to be here today. He's a little bit under the weather. But we are creative directors and company co-founders of Syntel. It's an SME, but we're slowly growing. What do? We do creative media production that sits within design, film, animation, and also immersive media. Boop. So this is the building that we're based at. There's an office block just next to this. If anybody can tell me what they think is in this building, they get a gold star. Dun, dun, dun. Time's up. No gold stars. So we do creative media production, and that was a production facility. I'll show you guys this. Oh yeah, so that was a bit of a sizzle reel of some of the stuff that the studio does. Within that, there's quite a lot of different projects. There's video production projects, there's corporate, there's some animation stuff that was just finished. Yeah, so moving on. We get out. Oopsies. Oh my god. This is another small promo video that we made just to show you a bit more of the building. So this is a guy called Herb Kim who presents a tech conference, and this is him coming down to Proto to get a character capture done. So we have a what's known as a character capture stage. It's got 121 cameras that allows somebody to be photo scanned and then processed into a 3D model. That 3D model can then be used in games, TV, film effects, animation, things like that. So that's a 3D scan from the resulting photos, and then Herb also does some motion capture in this. I just do what bad men do. I ain't a bad man, sonny. I just do what I have to. I say, oh God, give me some gold so I can get out of here. Yeah. Oh, I say, oh God, give me some gold so I can get out of here. Yeah. I ain't a bad man, sonny. I just do what bad men do. I ain't a bad man, sonny. I just do what I have to. My favorite bit. Yes, at the end of that video there as well, you can see in the 3D printer, we actually 3D printed this model of Herb, and then at the conference on stage, we actually presented him a tiny little 3D model of himself, like from that pose, like Han Solo and Carbonite, if any of you guys like Star Wars. And we presented it to him in a tiny little Pokeball. That was really cute, so he's got a tiny little version of himself. So what do I do in a typical day? So what I really enjoy about what we do is, is that there is no typical day really, although there are similar things that we do depending on the project that we're on or what's going on in the day. It's vastly different. Like today, for example, I thought I'd just give you a snippet. First thing was speaking to you guys, doing this presentation. And then we've got loads of stuff on. We've actually got job interviews today. We're taking people on board. We've got project meetings for 2 different projects. We've got a lab meeting. So there's a lot of meetings, but depending on what the project is, it's all different. How we got the job and the qualifications that we needed. This isn't actually our studio, but this is just a photo of Tom doing what we do best and just saying hello and sticking his head in places and saying hello to other studios. just being active really. So in terms of the qualifications that we needed, I'll just whistle stop to a blast through how me and Tom got started. So we met at Northumbria University. We were both doing film and TV production, not studies, it was film and TV production to actually make stuff using cinematic lenses. We were working a project together that was called The Journey. That was a film that I wrote, but it was like a documentary. And then we filmed. It's the story of an East African asylum seeker's journey to the UK through the Sahara Desert, but retold by local people from the local area to take it out of the kind of racial and cultural context. I've got a little snippet that I need to drastically pause. A lot of our films are actually PG13, but we've got some sanctified clips to show you.
Seems like years ago now. Came from a small village far from the capital city. We relocated because the helicopters and planes started bombing.
That's all you get of that, because it's got swear words in. Yeah, so that was a really interesting project. We filmed with loads of different people. There was like the big scary Geordie in the pub. We filmed with a priest in a cathedral, a guy from RNLI, an old lady in the Granger Market. Just kind of give a slice of life of all these different stories of, you know, could be anybody's tale kind of thing. And he really enjoyed himself. So after that, we basically shot a project in the south of France together, me and Tom, through one of our friends. It went really well. We were shooting on really fancy locations, all this amazing stuff. It's me and Tom looking very tired on the rooftop at 4 a.m. to film the sunrise. And then it resulted in stuff like this. So this is the Bay of Monaco with all the ships that we got some nice images for that our friends used. So we did that, came back, set up a brand, came up with a name, pulled out thin air, and got a logo, got some business cards, boom, you got a business. We then started doing artworking. So this is these are visuals for interior design work that we did for University of Sheffield and York. So these then went on to become actual physical locations. Yeah, this is somewhere at University of Sheffield and York. So these are made in Photoshop. We put the presentations together in InDesign. This is the office that we work in. And then opportunities in my sector and the local area. So I'm not entirely sure where you guys' school's based, but in Newcastle and Gateshead, there's a place called the Baltic Business Quarter just next to Gateshead College. This place is like an innovation hub. They've got loads of different companies working in like games, tech, media, VR, animation, all sorts. So there's loads of opportunities around that region specifically, and with smaller companies as well as larger companies such as Sage. Smaller companies like Syntel, we're taking on staff. We're actually giving 5 young people positions through the Kickstart scheme over the coming months. So we're going to be taking on board some young people, which is good, to get some help doing stuff. And then this is an animation that we've just finished. It's actually PG-13, but because your teacher's cool, just let me show you a clip of it. Right, so you get that one as well, kids, because it's PG-13, I'm sorry. Right, any questions? Yeah, no, maybe. Have I ever, 2 things. Have I ever worked with famous people? It depends who you guys are all quite young, so it depends who famous class is. My former obsessed with money, how much do you pay yourself? Right, I've worked with famous people. Nobody really famous. My wife has been doing a lot of extra work on set. In the first film that she was on, randomly was a guy called Kelsey Grammer, who's from Frasier. It's a really old series. And John Cleese, who's from Monty Python. So that was a weird one. My former obsessed with money, how much do you pay yourself? Look into this. If you set your own company up, you need to pay yourself as a director, so you can take dividends as well as a salary. What's the best place I've been for a job? The best place I've been to work, probably Monaco. Although that job, it looked really like cool and glamorous and sunny. We were so sweaty. We had so much camera gear to carry around. It was exhausting. It was genuinely exhausting. Exhausting. How can I become a 2D animator? Jack Wilson. So there's lots of different ways you can get involved with 2D animation. Watch loads of tutorials. If you learn how to use After Effects, that would be really useful. You learn how to use Photoshop, learn how to draw stuff as well. There's a lot of softwares that you can do automated 2D animation. Like that is hand drawn, for example. Every cell of character animation and the backgrounds have been hand drawn digitally, frame by frame composited. But there's ways of doing it where basically you use vector graphics. You create one graphic and then you digitally move it. It doesn't look quite as authentically scratchy and hand drawn, but it's another way. My form of asked whether you worked with Ali A. What the hell is Ali A? Now your kids are too young and trendy. I don't know who Ali A is. But yes, I've worked with Ali A. Yeah, no idea. Ali A is actually my my cousin. Yeah, is there any more questions? And the earlier comment of lots of computers and coffee machines is definitely correct. Okay, depends what kind of YouTuber. Let me see. Never written this guy. No, I have not worked with Ali A. Project usually take from start to finish. It's a good question. It depends on the project, really. So there's some video production jobs that could be over and done within the course of a month, whereas we've got some software development jobs that are going on for a year. I'm also doing a research PhD as well. It's a practical research PhD. It's going to be creating an immersive boxing experience using VR, focusing on women's boxing, of all things, which is pretty weird. And that's a 4-year project. So massively different, depends. It's all case by case. Right, what software do you use for animation? Emma and Carissa. So the animation was made in separate parts. The animators who were hand drawing stuff and the illustrator used Photoshop, which then went through into After Effects. The animators were using a software called TV Paint, which is really good for doing hand drawn animation cycles. And then that was all brought and composited together into the final film in After Effects. What After Effects are good for animation? All of them. So After Effects is the name of the software. Within After Effects, there's then lots of different kinds of effects you can then apply. So you could put on a transform, a warp, a time remap, stabilization. What software do you use for animation? After Effects. What did I study before going to university? So I went to high school, did really well, straight A student, I got my GCSEs, went to sixth form, really wasn't for me, didn't enjoy it, failed really badly, dropped out, worked as a bartender, worked in a stock room, then went to Newcastle College to study creative media production. That was 2 years, did that, graduated, went to Northumbria University to do creative media production there for film and TV. Graduated from that 2 years ago, worked freelance for a year, and then set Sintel up as a company 2 years ago, and then started a degree, research PhD degree 8 months ago. Was it word of mouth, or did you have contact potential clients directly pitch what you could do? So one of the things, whilst I was still at college, I started actually going out and making things in my spare time. If you guys go to university and you're doing creative, practical, technical things, you have to do things outside of your course as well. There's loads of other people doing the exact same thing as you. If you don't do something that's going to make you stand out or that you can carry forward with you, like the final grades for my university, even though I did well, didn't really matter. It was the films that came out the back of it that were the thing that I could actually showcase of here's a thing that I made and did. And then it also makes it really useful for things like this, where I can just stick a video on and then not have to chat for a little bit. So a lot of it's word of mouth. You need to show what you can do and then just go and make connections. It's kind of like a big thing is to just get comfortable speaking with strangers. what sort of things were you doing in school that contribute to this career? In IT, we made films as opposed to actually doing IT work. What sort of things do you do? Have I worked with Mr. Beast? I have no idea who or what that is. I am actually Mr. Beast. No, I don't know who Mr. Beast is. Are you subcontracted by other devs? So it's actually sometimes the other way around. Because we're a creative production agency, we sometimes subcontract other developers to work on our projects, depending on what the project is. But we don't employ anybody full-time at the moment because we haven't had the need to, because it's project-based. So if we have a project, we'll hire somebody on board just for that one project to facilitate whatever it is we need, kind of thing. But, you know, if we were working on a web app, we might hire Reese and Sage to develop the web app for us that we would then maybe upload the content to. Mr. Beast is an awesome YouTuber. Nice. There's no, it's just a question mark that's quite existential. Yeah, any more questions? A bit conscious of time, I think. I'm not really sure. I think Amy will come kick me off once I've chatted for too long. Yeah, hopefully that was interesting enough or insightful. The thing I will say though is if you do want to pursue this kind of career, especially creative-based technical media production, there's no one path, there's no one like kind of easy straight route, even if you go to university or whatever. It's all about the people you meet and the work that you do and the kind of reputation you build. So there's, you know, I could tell you my exact story and it might not work for everybody the same kind of route. Thank you very much from my form of 23, 12, 13 years. Man, is that how many kids are watching this? There's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oof, that's a lot of kids. 140. Well, thanks, guys. Woo! I'm also just sat at home at the minute. It's one of the things about kind of setting your own thing up is you can dictate your own workload and workflow when you work and kind of where, which is good.
Thanks, Cameron, for that. It was really insightful. I actually love learning about all that stuff. I'm going to hand over to Adam now. Adam, are you ready to?
Thank you very much.
Yes. All right.
Hi guys. Can everyone see my screen? Because I, like Reese, have issues with Zoom and sharing my screen. Is that visible? Cool, brilliant. Okay, so what do? I picked some very obscure images without sort of giving away what I do. Has anyone got any guesses? And Premier League referee is not one of the options, by the way. Let's have a look. VAR. Well, I wish. No. Digital CGI. Getting close, I'd say. So yes, Jay Mersh has got it. I do work in cybersecurity. So my job. So I'm Adam. I work as a cybersecurity specialist at Sage. I recently finished the graduate scheme that I was on, which I was with Reese on. Previously, I worked at Arsenal. That is true. I worked in the club shop. Also worked in Wembley Stadium and Sainsbury's. I thought I deleted the Football Manager comment, but I thought I'd add it in there just purely because it is an achievement, I think. So what do we do at Sage? Well, Sage create HR and payroll software, and on the out, sort of looking at the outside, that sounds not I don't want to say boring, but it doesn't sound like it's like the most exciting sort of product to sort of be products to be developing, as none of us will use HR and payroll software in our lifetime. But what makes Sage different to its competitors is innovation. Sage are always looking for the next best thing. They're always looking for to develop the next best product, the next best service or experience for customers. And one of the unique things about the company is that all the functions, so security, development, customer services, marketing, we all work in conjunction with each other to deliver essentially the best experience for customers. in our roles. And again, that sounds quite obscure, and I'll go into it a bit when I talk now about security at Sage. So what do we do? Like, what are our responsibilities with regards to cybersecurity at Sage? Well, in a lot of films, you'll see that the way cybersecurity and hacking is sort of portrayed and dramatized is that, you know, people will be sat in front of a screen with, like, you know, multiple screens in front of them, and they'll be like coding away constantly. And whilst we do have a part of our organization that does similar things called the CDO, so it's the Defense Operations Center, security is actually split up into different segments. So we've got application security, we've got compliance, and then we've got the red team. Little bit about the red team and application security. So application security is essentially how do we help people like Reese and other developers to develop products in a secure way. And then the red team essentially like to break things, so they will test and stress test and push all of our processes and our products to see if there are any vulnerabilities. So out of the three, you know, the red team probably sounds like sort of the most exciting one, and I've had some experience in that team. But what do we do in compliance? Does it sound boring? Well, compliance really is about ensuring that people in our organization follow the rules and follow the procedures and policies that we have set out. And again, it almost sounds as if like you're a referee, you know, you're pretty much on the pitch just trying to make sure, you know, that all the players are, you know, no yellow cards, no red cards, and they're just following the rules. But what do we actually do? So a large part of my role focuses on how we can enable people to work securely and confidently in whatever environment they're in. So as you can imagine, with the COVID pandemic, you guys have been affected where you've had to sort of go sort of school from home, and our colleagues have all had to pretty much shift from working from home. And in that situation, there's been quite, you know, there's a lot of risks, there's a lot of, you know, potential, you know, like I said, potential errors and things that could go wrong. And we had to come together as a team and develop a plan for our business globally. So not just in the UK, but every colleague that is part of the Sage group. So that's Sage France, Sage Germany, Sage Spain, and other regions. And what does my day-to-day look like? Well, apart from sort of covering my face and questioning why people have done things the way they've done things, as seen in the initial slide, my day-to-day varies every single day. Some days I will spend a lot of time doing third-party due diligence. So we do audits on companies and software that we actually want to use at Sage for ourselves, as well as services that we're going to provide to our customers. As well as that, I do quite a lot of mentoring with the early careers people. So, you know, we've got a couple of apprentices, and what we do is we introduce them to compliance, and, you know, we sort of train them up from the ground where they've had barely, you know, close to no knowledge essentially, to a point where they can just carry out the job role as if they were just a permanent member of the team. As well as that, it's attending a lot of meetings with our legal team, and actually talking to our legal team about new initiatives, new ways of working, and also, you know, like I say, new pieces of software that are in the business. And I know a lot of that sounds like, okay, well, you've got a rule book and you just follow that rule book and that's your template. But actually, we're involved in a lot of decision making, which when you actually look at it, it's a pretty cool role. You know, a lot of the time our assessments and our judgment will be the difference between, you know, colleagues being able to use software A and software B. And I've said that sounds cool, but actually maybe it's not actually as cool as I think it is. But the compliance role, it's quite a unique one, because, as you know, as I'm sure you all know, cybersecurity isn't something that's static. Every single week, every single month, there's a new vulnerability, there's a new standard that's developed, and it's a job where you will never come in and do the same thing every day. And you could literally spend every waking minute of your life reading about cybersecurity and thinking, right, I'm going to be an expert in it, but actually, you know, you never will be. You can be an expert in certain areas, but as a whole, cybersecurity, you never will be an expert. And that, I think that's one of the biggest attractions of working in the cyber industry, is that you're always learning, you're always able to get involved in other things. So how did I end up where I am? How did I end up in the compliance role? Well, before I finished the graduate scheme and joined the graduate scheme, I worked in our CS function, and what that did is it gave me an opportunity to learn what Sage were about, and also sort of see from the ground up what challenges Sage face. And I'd like to think that the 3 years that I spent in customer services before, before joining the graduate scheme, and sort of graduating from it, is, it was probably the most important part of my career. I think a lot of people put themselves in a position where when you finish qualifications, whether that's university, whether that's an apprenticeship, whether that's work experience, they think that that the path to the role that you're after is almost direct, if that makes sense. It's all, and a lot of the time it isn't. And I think it's really important to sort of highlight that. If you said to me, how many years ago did I start uni? 9 years. It's pretty depressing. You said to me 9 years ago, when I first did my computing degree, that I would end up in cybersecurity and then compliance, I would have said not a chance. I want to work in digital marketing because that was my passion at the time. But it's really important to sort of remember that. So my educational background is I do have a degree in computing and then a master's in cybersecurity and human factors from Newcastle University. It was a really great course. And my advice to actually we'll cover the how to get into cybersecurity in the next slide. The last point I just wanted to make, and I've put taking a leap with a graduate scheme. One of the biggest things for me was because I'd finished uni and gone into CS for 3 years. I didn't lose all of my cybersecurity knowledge, but I didn't feel very comfortable, and it took a very big leap from me to sort of throw myself into a role where Sage are a great place. That they're there to develop you. They want to develop you, and they want to sort of help you develop. And I put myself in a position where I was like, oh my God, am I going to fail? Like, because I don't know everything about cybersecurity, like I talked about, because I'm not an expert in a certain field. But actually, sometimes taking that leap is really important. So how do you get into cybersecurity? Well, there's various entry points, and these are the ones that I'm aware of. However, I'm sure there are more, but Sage have a really great apprenticeship scheme where you'll come in, you'll do various rotations over 2 years. You'll pretty much be involved from day one with projects, so it's not a case of just coming in and learning. And as well as that, you'll also pick up qualifications. Maybe not in the near future, but there are options. So there are degrees and masters in cybersecurity, in computing. Sometimes a lot of them do require just a technical degree, and then obviously some interest in cybersecurity. Reddit. So I don't know. The last speaker mentioned PG13, so I'm not sure what the Reddit terms of services are. But Reddit, the cybersec thread and sort of subreddit, it's a great place to go and read about cybersecurity. There's always sort of up to date news articles, information, and also sort of leading people in the industry talking about things they're working on, obviously when they can share. And finally, IC Squared. So this is like a national organization. It's almost like the cybersecurity, like I don't want to call it a cult because that sounds quite bad, but it's almost like it's like a massive group. Like I say, where people give talks, they talk about what's happening, they talk about entry points into cybersecurity. And I think the age is 16 when you can sign up, but definitely keep an eye on that, because IC Squared is definitely something to be involved in, even if you're just attending just the free meetings, via Zoom and whatnot. It's a great place to learn about cybersecurity. So thank you for listening to me. And if we have time, does anyone have any questions? It's all right if no. It's okay if no one's got any questions. If no one's got any questions, I know compliance isn't the I don't know what the word is. Cybersecurity. Do you do coding in your job? So my job doesn't involve coding day to day. However, the red team engagements and application security do. So as part of the grad scheme, you will rotate. You have the potential to rotate into those teams and actually carry out a bit of coding. How much do you get paid? Well, what I will say is that cybersecurity is quite a lucrative industry. So the graduate banding that I was on was very similar to Reese, and then the role that I'm currently in starts at 45 and upwards of 55. What's your first priority when there's a security risk? Well, a lot of the time it's really communication. I think that's the biggest thing. I think communication is key. Also panic. It sounds very silly, but being aware of the actual issue, and like I say, being aware of the issue, and actually running around and trying to fix it with people in the organization is really important. Are there a lot of opportunities for ICT work in the Northeast? Yes, there are. I'm quite biased, so I'm going to mention Sage, obviously, is the company I work for. Sage have got like a variety, like I say, of sort of ICT related roles in cybersecurity and outside of cybersecurity. But there are other organizations like Accenture, like Nomad Digital, that do have roles that are obviously in that cybersec space, but also involving ICT. And my final bit of advice really would be, if cybersecurity isn't something that you've necessarily thought about, or it's something that maybe has piqued your interest, but maybe you want to learn a bit more and you don't want to maybe go down the compliance route like me, there's loads of resources available online. So definitely look at sort of what security looks like at the moment. But yeah. Just can see another one. No problem at all. So if there's no more questions, I'll just stop sharing my screen. Cool. Thank you very much.
Great. I think we'll end it there. Thank you so much, Adam, Cameron, and Reese. That was really insightful. I hope you guys found it really insightful as well. That was just a snippet of 3 jobs for 2 different companies. There are thousands of tech companies in the Northeast. Many of them are constantly hiring and actually creating new roles. Some of the roles that these guys are in today wouldn't have existed 10 years ago. So keep an eye out for jobs that are coming up and schemes that you can get onto jobs like apprenticeship schemes or grad schemes. Keep your eye out and do your research. If there are any more questions, teachers should have access to my email address via Kate, or in an email somewhere, maybe in the invite. So if you have any more questions, just drop me an email and I can get answers for you. But apart from that, you're all free to carry on with your day, go to classes, and keep learning, really. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining, guys.